Hi, this is Sergeant Beach Larson. Welcome to CO Life Part 6, Dorm Life. I'm going to talk a little bit and kind of compare. These are going to be the real similarities. There's not a lot different between a county detention center jail and a state prison. County detention, the jails, they're pretty much routine. Both them in a prison are going to have, gangs, gang activities, gangs segregating together. You're going to have that. The prison, the dorms are going to be predominantly one gang. In the county jail, they get separated just based on crime by age. There's several factors, more factors that go into that. So at the county, you may have, more than 60, you may have 80 or 100 in a dorm or a pod. And the officer's going to see that a little bit of groups, they go and take showers, a couple at a time, a couple will be in the restroom, and just back and forth. Kind of like busy bee ants. It's bigger than a prison dorm, so they've got more room to move. They got a little bit more ability to go to the yard, like we talked about previous video. They don't have as many doctor's appointments, unless they're diabetic or have some kind of medical condition. So they pretty much stay inside, but they watch TV. They get along a lot better. Their problems, their squabbles are de-escalated squabbles. There might be a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of punching kind of thing. But for the most part, the violence is small scale. And the reason for that, because they're probably there a short time. They're waiting for court, waiting for release, for transfer. And for them, life runs really smooth to just get along. So it's kind of like, putting them in timeout, but it's a good timeout. They get a long timeout. So the dorm life, gangs can control. They can control TVs. When you've got the higher gang members in there and dominant over the other inmates, they'll control the TV. But it's kind of like through head nod and through eyes, maybe a little bit of physical body language. It's not a conversation. They're not saying, hey, we're so-and-so and we're doing this. They kind of just do it. And the inferior or the non-gang members in there just go along, watch what's there to watch. They read, they go back to their bunk, they engage in their own little cliques that they develop. And they talk about the crimes they've committed. They talk about how to commit crimes, how to be better, how not to get caught. Basic stuff. A lot more basic. The prison side on that, things are controlled by gangs of TVs. But like I said, you may have a whole dorm that's all blood gang or all gangster disciple. And through doing that, they have their own hierarchy. Everything is set in stone in their language, in molded into their gang, their group. And I'll say a group because it's not the whole gang, it's just part of it. But the TV, who showers first, who's responsible to make sure everybody's up in the morning for breakfast chow, or lunch or evening if they're taking naps. Playing card games and stuff, you have to have a certain rank and be a certain person to join card games or dominoes. You have to be the certain person in the gang to control a remote. So they're kind of similar. They have their own structure. They know prison life. They know jail life. The ones at the county jail that I saw were just in and out constantly. And they prepared. They knew how long they were going to be in. They'd come in and say, I'm going to be in here for 60 days this time, and then I'll be out. Okay. And in the county, they have access to phones a lot easier, too, than general population, or if they're in a tier unit, behavior unit, ISO-SEG of a prison. So these guys have a lot more on a county level during their short term. They tend to get along. They tend to cooperate with the officers. They tend to pose less threat. Now, on the other hand, there is danger, period. And I've done some reaction videos where in a dorm, just out of nowhere, inmates had a bad day or he's got a hold of some drugs. And there's drug use in all over. Everybody locked up has potential for drug use. But there's isolated incidents or 2 or 3 on one, they have a purpose. Attack the officer to gain something. In the prison, it's larger scale. Down this year in 2020, Ware State Prison in Georgia, in the evening, they overtook a couple officers and some ranking people and a captain. And in the prison, the policies are, and the rules are, when they take an officer or anybody of rank, staff member there, administration hostage, warden hostage, that it doesn't mean negotiations right off the bat. They're not going to give into these demands of these inmates. And as you can tell from where stated in some of the videos, and I'm not going to show it, but I have a couple videos that were from cell phones that got on YouTube from inmates from their secret phones recording what was going on. YouTube deleted them because of the violence and the blood and everything going on. I got access to that from a friend really quick. So I'm going to keep that to myself and just, review for myself mentally for training purposes. But there was a negotiation. They came in with guns, not pepper ball guns, not tasers. They came in with real guns, the tac squad guys that I've worked with. And the captain, one of the people taken hostage, he was beat, had his eye socket, was stabbed. And, great commander, got promoted to captain. Squad guys that I've worked with went in and took charge and took over. And there were some inmates injured. And that's on a large scale thing that's going to happen in a prison, different. Starting in a dorm, they wanted this, they wanted that privilege. And in taking them hostages, they took the keys, opened the other doors, and released about 800 inmates to run freely in that prison. Now that's a large scale problem that you're not normally going to have inside a county jail, county detention center. But that pretty much sums up dorm life. That's one, unlike the other video topics where they're vastly different. The dorm life is pretty consistent. You know your place and you know your role. When you come in, county or in a state prison, you're going to identify to them. If you're affiliated with a gang, you're going to identify some things to them. And that's how they determine, as an officer or sergeant, I can assign them a bed. And it never ends up being the same because of who they're affiliated with and what they're all about. They end up with a different bed. And then that goes up to higher supervision if they allow that unauthorized move or not. But it's a hierarchy in both places. And you know your step, you know when to talk, you know when not to talk. And you know the consequences if you violate any of these above things. So think about it. That's what dorm life is about. The one thing definitely in common, the officer is going to be in there. One officer with 60 to 100, depending on the facility, inmates. 60 to 100 against one. When you go to do your count, you'll have other officers, yes. But when you're not doing count, and you're in there just doing your routine walkthroughs, or in a county where you're assigned there and you're at a booth, and you're in there, it's kind of like me sitting at this desk in an office by myself with a room full of inmates, of detainees. That is the number one common denominator. You're going to be alone a lot of the time in dorm life. So I hope this just gives you a little bit of an idea. Plan. What if? How am I going to handle this? If this happens, then what? Go through these things in your head every day. And these dynamics will change as the inmates change, the detainees change. Whether it's a week or it's a month, you'll have, we'll say it's 50 inmates, and you've got established, who they are. 5-6 days later, only 30 of them are still the same, and the other 20. But of the 20 new that came in, 5 of them are people that are going to really cause a problem. So think about this. Plan ahead all the time. Always be planning. That's dorm life as a CO. Hit the like, hit the share. Don't forget to subscribe, the little red button. See you soon.